right. Well, let me bring up another distinguished guest here that we have to regale you today. Now, remember, we were out in the street. We came in under the ground. Now we're in the building. Ivo brought the heart. Among other things, he brought the heart today. Now we need to talk about, we heard about GPU as a service. Let's talk about some of the things that actually begin to transact and happen inside this wonderful new building that we're building. Our next presenter is with Moonshot Energy. He is, again, a gold sponsor for today's summit. Bryan Lubin is a seasoned infrastructure and finance executive with more than 20 years of experience in data center development, renewable power integration, and institutional lending. As the chief operating officer for Moonshot, Bryan leads modular AI data center deployments powered by renewable energy, including GPU cluster rollouts, standard power conversions, and large-scale offtake agreements. His career spans high-stakes project finance, utility negotiations, real estate acquisitions, and power purchase agreements, uniquely positioning him to bridge the gap between infrastructure operations and private equity capital deployment. Please join me in welcoming Bryan Lubin to the podium.
Yeah, it's okay. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Tom, great job. There's a lot that you just said about me, and some of it's true, some of it's not. I want to first say thank you to Tanya. This is unbelievable. I've never seen a presentation like this in terms of this brand new, beautiful campus that you guys have created. And the opportunity, I think, that sits in front of us is bright, and using Moonshot's phrase, to the moon, of one of the biggest things, right, that I think Wichita is going to see for quite some time. So great job. Piggybacking off of Ivo's idea of the interconnection being the heart, the GPUs are the brain, right? It's what drives, it's what allows us to move forward. It's what allows us to be able to grow and expand and be thinking and mindful of AI in itself. And what that means is a difference between being able to deploy it, right, in Wichita or in New York or California or Texas. So my story is a little bit different. I come from San Diego, California. I now live out in New York. Everybody asks why I did that, and it's because that's, for me, the passion, right, the drive, the energy. It allows me to succeed and grow, and allows me also to be here today. Without that, I wouldn't have met Hunter and be able to present, right, this opportunity that I think is so unique and well-fitted for what you guys have built. The tech park here that you guys have, I think, is beyond innovation, right? You will never see anything like this in NYU. They don't have the ability to do it, right? And the foresight to have this here, I think, is incredible. So my background, like you said, is real estate and credit risk, right? Father was a developer turned financier, crashed in '08. So I watched the rise, I watched the fall, right? Humbling, and also gave me a mindset of risk in general, right? What does it mean to acquire wealth, right? What does it mean to stand past it once that goes away? And so I came to New York, and I took the exact opposite route. I went to full W-2, went to the corporate banks, and I was like, I'm gonna be as strong as I can be in this sector. And we just got married, and I stayed in there for about over a decade. And what I did was I focused on credit risk. So I was at Morgan Stanley, ran their ultra high net worth lending platform for the New York office, became a chief credit officer at Bank of New York Mellon, where I was actually created a lending platform inside of that bank. So compliance, OCC, CFPB, lending, that's me. I'm a dork at the end of the day, and I'm an underwriter at heart. So I love to live in the weeds, and numbers have meanings to me. And with that, I went to Wells Fargo and ended my corporate tenure there in 2021. COVID hit. We were welcoming our third kid. We just moved into a brand new house. So I thought, what a great time to quit my W-2 job and go start my own company. And that's what I did. And I ran into Ethan Ellenberg. So there's two companies with Moonshot. Moonshot Core is what I call it, is a critical infrastructure manufacturing company for data centers or for power, right? In order for you to turn on these lights, have this presentation, you have to acquire the equipment. So similar to picks and shovels, right? We are the same thing, but in actual electrical components. And with that, we are able to grow and develop data centers. And since 2021, Ethan, where I met him as well, back when I started my company, has deployed just over 3.2 gigawatts of equipment throughout the United States. And think about that in perspective, right? A megawatt powers 1,000 homes, right? A gigawatt is 1,000 megawatts, right? So a substantial amount of power is going in, obviously, which is why we're all here today, in order to grow it out. The crazy piece that comes about, right, is does data centers actually equivalent to power generation? Yes, but does it also equate to the opportunity for you to grow in terms of the GPU and the server and the AI growth, which is what I'm going to go over. So the way that it worked is he came to me, said, Bryan, come in and start working for Moonshot Energy. So I started working and going over Moonshot Energy last year. And the initial launch was supposed to be an edge compute data center, right, which is small, sub 20 megawatts data center. The cost of that, though, is substantial. The capital requirement is substantial, and the risk is high in terms of risk and reward. That was not going to come to fruition, so we said, all right, let's do GPU as a service. Basically meaning buy servers, right, and deploy them. Sounds easy, right? Buy a piece of hardware, plug it in, and make revenue. Not so easy. And the reason is these servers are substantially cost heavy, and the capital requirement is large. So who knows CoreWeave? Raise their hands. Anyone know CoreWeave? Yeah. Anyone know Lambda? Okay. Anyone know OpenAI? Awesome. Anyone know FluidStack? Oh, good. There's a few. So what I just went through, right, was a $50 billion company, right? Another $20 billion company, right? And then I went to the last one, which is mostly people don't know. So the ones that raise your hands are definitely in the space. The ones that don't, right, they are a GPU marketplace. They just closed a deal with a company called TeraWulf, which is a data center developer, and they were backed by Google for $1.3 billion. They're doing a 160 megawatt deployment, and that 160 megawatt deployment is based solely upon the fact that FluidStack is able to buy and procure those servers and then lease them to generate revenue. Google came in and said, no worries, we got your backstop. Just in case if you don't, then we will take care of the lease to the data center. That is a substantial ask in faith, right? But where does that show the market? Where does that show the ability to do something like that here, right? Where the company that we're running now at Moonshot Energy has done that in a bifurcated way, right? And the way that it worked, we did a proof of concept out in New York, thanks to Hunter's help. And we have 8 servers right now that are running out in New York. These are B200s, and the company is Averest as the OEM. And right now, these have been running for the last 120 days as a proof of concept to make sure that what I just walked through of procuring the servers, leasing those servers, and generating revenue is actually positive. And that has been done here. They sit inside of one of the only data centers and colo providers in New York, it's in Brooklyn, in which Hunter sits on the board of directors on, which is why we were able to use this as the opportunity. What it does for me, selfishly for Moonshot, is that it allows capital stacks to come and touch it, feel it, see it, right, as opposed to just looking at it online. That's one aspect. But what the other aspect is, it allows me to grow, right? It allows me to be here today to present this opportunity where we would love to be, right, in an area that we all know you have power. That's not the issue, right? It becomes what we've just been walking through today, succinctly, as Hunter's been able to build this model, right, of all the way to the dirt, all the way up to the actual data center itself, and then being able to provide the servers as a GPU as a service model, right? So as that GPU as a service model grows, it becomes a volume-based business, and then you continue to grow. You all know who CoreWeave and Lambda is. It's the same exact thing, right? But it's on a lower grade. So you see deals right now that are going in place. Microsoft just launched Nebius, right? Or not launched, but invested, I think, $17 billion into Nebius. These numbers are ridiculous. These numbers are unbelievably out of control because it takes years to get there, right? But that's not something that is actually tangible for 99% of the people that are trying to do this. So there is a totally other world there, which is GPU as a marketplace, in which Hydra is my leasing, right? So I think about a server as a apartment building. Each server has 8 GPUs. So just like an apartment building has 8 apartments, if you were to compare, you want to keep that occupancy high. In the server world, we use utilization, right? And that utilization basically is our revenue. GPU marketplaces, which is Hydra host, is my client in which I hired to go and lease my servers to generate that revenue, take my risk away to make sure that that utilization stays high. Now, the competition that we have right now in the marketplace, as you see, I'm not going to go compete against a $17 billion investment from Microsoft, right? I have to find that myself. So Jensen did a great presentation like a couple months ago in GTC Paris, in which Hydra host is one of the top 5 GPU marketplaces that are currently out there in the world. And FluidStack was #1. And what just happened to them, right? They essentially are now taken out by Google and TeraWulf because they have to fill 160 megawatts worth of servers. With potential clients, yes, no, no one knows. With this model, right, it allows us to do step by step without taking too much of a risk, and allows us to actually grow, but at a market-based clip. And the market right now demands certain pieces. So your university, which walked through from Shocker, which was unbelievable. Justin was a great innovation and visionary of what he built out there. And they're running, that entire software base, or the entire place based off of just, retail computers. And I think it's amazing that there's a limitation there and an opportunity to bring this in with everything that everybody's presented today, in which latency and fiber and interconnection are the requirements in order for you to grow up to this next scale, right? You have the land, no question, right? You have the innovation, you have the vision, more importantly. But what comes after that, right? This becomes the final product of being able to utilize these AI servers that everybody hears about, or if you use ChatGPT and open up everything and say, tell me that I'm looking good today, and it'll tell you absolutely. And you tell me not to, it'll say you still look good, because it wants you to know that it only gives you what you want to hear, right? But the B200s are the example of what we decided to go with. The rack that we have right now, this rack is a $3 million investment, right? Just in the servers alone. It doesn't include power, it doesn't include anything else. Just for me to sit there and try and run this is a $3 million investment, right? As you grow up to that next phase, a megawatt, right, is essentially 80 of these servers, right? So it's a $30 million investment just for a meg. And you hear on the news, people are talking about gigs. So you can think about the size and scale of what people are doing and growing into. So as we decided to go and move forward and take this risk and show the opportunity, we went forward with Hydra as the off-taker, because they are what we believe to be a critical infrastructure data center in order for us to help grow and launch GPU as a service. Do you have a microphone? Test. Hey. So I want to just walk around for a second. So down here, as we start to see, these are the prices that people pay in order to utilize the servers. And they call it a GPU per hour, because that is the value that you have to lease us from. And those values range from a couple dollars, right, all the way down to cents, depending on the server that you're using. So we decided to be the first in Hydra's 24,000 GPU clusters to launch the B200s. We took the risk. I jumped off basically jumped off the cliff and said, "Catch me," and they did. It was a huge, gamble for us, but that's how small this world is that we're playing in terms of the AI race, right? You might see a lot of stuff on the news, you might see a lot of things that people are doing, but the reality is, it is less than 1% of people that are actually being able to get to that stage to get it done. Only because all the pieces that we just walked through has to be done. It takes a village. I can't do this by myself in no way, shape, or form, right? And the team that Hunter has put together and Tanya have put together is what's going to bring Wichita, right, to an opportunity of growth of GPU marketplaces, right? Or GPU internally, right? In order for you guys to utilize AI, these are the servers that are going to be the future. Now, NVIDIA itself has a full other platform, right? Based off of, oh, great, B200s are out. Awesome. By the way, in like 6 months, B300s are coming out. And by the way, in a year, right, it's a whole other platform. How do you keep up? What does that look like in a risk model of a return on investment? And essentially what's created, the capital markets have caught wind of this and said, look, if we're going to invest billions of dollars into this, then we have to have a run ramp, right? And that run ramp is about 3 years. We call it technology decay. How many people have had a new phone in the last 5 years, right? Same kind of a thing. So as you continue to grow and as technology continues to grow, you have to be able to keep up with the market. And in order to do that, I go back to what I said before, is we grow at a market-based clip, right? I cannot go and purchase $100 million worth of an equipment without knowing that the market is there to sustain it. And that's the next step of evolution of where you guys have an opportunity to come in, right? You already have a huge demand on campus right now. That's one piece of the puzzle. The next is you guys purchase those servers. If you have, utilization, right, of let's say less than 50%, there is a value, right, that is lost. So you have the opportunity to go resell that market and the availability back to the marketplace. Anybody can do what I do right here, right? I'm not special in that regard. I was just crazy enough to put the pieces of the puzzle together to try and do it myself. And it worked, but my gosh, if it wasn't painstaking. And that risk and reward is where we stand today. I think with what Wichita has put together, I'm just gonna show you what this looks like. With what Wichita has put together, offers a unique perspective of the universities in itself. There is no other university that I've seen that has the foresight right now to do this, only because of everything that we just walked through today has to be done, and the red tape and loop and compliance that you have to deal with and regulations are unfortunately just too high. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for the opportunity to grow with you guys. And I really appreciate Tanya and Hunter for putting this together and Connect to Nation. Thank you guys. The other guy didn't come. Do you want me to keep on going? Aaron's not here. Okay, cool. All right. I think I might be back. So everybody take a break and yeah. Thank you all.